I'm Tom Colicchio, host of Citizen Chef. You may know me as the judge on Top Chef. Last season on Citizen Chef, we dove deep into topics ranging from disaster relief and various injustices inherent in our food system. I hope you're as excited as I am to jump back in. So starting this May, you can tune in to hear from experts on a wide range of issues that you, with your fork and your dollars, have the power to change. Listen to Citizen Chef on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or anywhere you get your favorite shows.
Hey, it's Bethany Frankel, and I am thrilled to announce that my podcast, Just Be with Bethany Frankel, is back and bigger than ever with new conversations with disruptors like Matthew McConaughey.
I think that day is when he goes, I was a good father to him. I raised him to have this confidence to go, I'm going my own way, I'm breaking out.
Kelly Ripa.
Nobody handed me anything, and I fought really hard for everything I had.
And so many more. Listen to Just Be with Bethany Frankel on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Was it a front to back recede or sort of like a,
It's like a widow's peak and then basically LeBron.
Yeah.
Like widow's peak, but then like all this is thinned out to the point where, it's like if a tsunami is attacking a peninsula. If I grew it out.
Yeah.
You've got a game of Risk going on in your head.
Hello and welcome to Bald Talk, the podcast upon which two bald comedians interview other bald comedians, actors, celebs, authors, chefs, and really anyone of any vocation about being bald. I'm Charlie Sanders, Baldy.
And I am Brian Husky, Baldy. Also, you are not required to have a vocation to be a guest, especially during these difficult times, but you do need to be bald or be bald adjacent.
Yes, absolutely. Or even just like know stuff about being bald, or you're dating a bald guy, or
seen a bald person.
I mean, we can find an angle on anybody.
Yeah, we're really going to expand the parameters.
We will find a way.
Can you spell bald? That's fine too.
If you can spell bald, you're on.
Right.
B-L-A-D, right?
More or less.
Perfect.
B-A-L-T?
BLT. Good sandwich.
That's what I have for lunch.
Oh, nice. Well, that has nothing to do with our guest, but I'm going to use it as a stunning transition to bring in our very talented and wonderful guest that we're very happy to have. Brian, we have a terrific guest on Bald Talk today. He starred in the short film Waffle, which was selected for South by Southwest, where it did show because South by Southwest did happen because there's not a pandemic. At least that's what I'm telling myself.
Right.
He was a writer and performer for many hilarious sketches on College Humor. He has appeared in such TV shows as Ultra Megatron Team Go, The Rank Room, Adam Ruins Everything, and Lost to Brian in an episode of Don't Laugh News. Our guest today, hailing out of Chicago, Illinois, is Raphael Chestang. Welcome to the show, Raphael.
Thank you. Wow. What an intro.
Yeah, right? Deep dive. Deep research.
Fantastic.
Oh, we're glad to have you.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. I'm a fan of both you guys, so this is a really big treat for me.
Oh, thank you. That's nice to hear.
I hope that wasn't too painful, me bringing up. I think he laughed 17 times.
Oh, my God. Our episode of Don't Break Newsroom was the one where I broke the most, for sure, because I had never met you before, and then you're just screaming at me, calling me a moron, an idiot moron. That was fantastic.
I was just doing the script.
No, I know.
I was performing. I felt bad afterwards. The producer, I can't remember who it was, but he was sort of like, even if you don't think it's funny, maybe laugh occasionally.
Yeah, they do. They encourage you to. They do encourage you.
Yeah, it was a little reality TV note that I kind of ignored.
So the point of the show is to not laugh.
Yeah, because you've never seen the script.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that sounds funny. I gotta watch that.
So you're just doing it for the first time.
Yeah.
And who is it? Was it Kate?
Katie.
Is that
probably Katie Mirovich.
Katie.
Yeah.
She has
Stone Cold.
Right. So I was sort of like, okay, I'm gonna maybe take her down. Hopefully.
Yeah.
So Brian broke you by screaming at you, Raph?
Oh my goodness, did he? I
think when Brian is angry and mean, it's extra funny because he's so friendly and sort of unassuming, but then when he's mean, you're like, oh, the friendly, unassuming guy can be kind of nasty.
Exactly.
The tiny ticking time bomb. How cute. Well, thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
And College Humor, you have a huge following on YouTube, right?
Yes. And I like to point out, I was College Humor's first Black cast member, but I was the third cast member to be called the N-word in the comments. Our fans have always been progressive.
Wait, the third one?
The third.
Holy crap.
They don't discriminate. They do not discriminate.
Oh, man.
That's fucked up.
Well, I was watching some of them last night and of your stuff, and you guys are pretty going for Trump pretty hard. Like,
yeah.
Like, given that was, 3 comments, 3 responses already from your audience base. Is that always a battle, like putting that kind of content up?
Well, actually, going into it, people warned me not to read the comments. So, like, the first couple videos I didn't, and then the curiosity got to me, and then I did, and I was like, oh, no, you guys are right. So then I went back to not reading them again. But, we went after Trump specifically a couple of times, which, you don't want every video to be like that because that gets, like, boring and draining and stuff. But there's always something to go after, and it just so happens that he has his fingerprints on most things that are going wrong. I guess you could trace back to one person.
Very little contact tracing. It's pretty obvious.
Totally. Well, that is awful that was a comment.
Yeah, that's horrible.
They're gonna say all kinds of things. It runs a gamut. Some people say like really, really nice things, really, really sweet things, and the really, really bad ones are, for me personally, few and far between. But those happen to be the ones that stay with you the most.
Yeah.
Has anyone ever mentioned you being bald?
Yeah, they disparage your beautiful head.
Did anybody mention me being bald? I don't know. They might have said something like, you look like your neck is blowing a bubble or something like that.
That's pretty good.
The internet is funny. People on the internet are funny.
Yeah. Well, yeah, when you put in hours and hours of trolling, you're going to up your game.
You get good at it. Yeah, once you hit those 10,000 hours, yeah.
Yeah, it's just great at like tearing people apart.
So at College Humor, you guys you generate, several sketches a day, I guess?
Yeah. So it's operating on a very extremely skeleton crew because it's technically done, but the YouTube channel's still up. And but we all got laid off, but we still do sketches every now and then. Like we did do the Google is a Guy quarantine stuff during quarantine. And we do things every now and then. And Sam Reich, who owns the brand now, still has a streaming service called Dropout, where we do like unscripted stuff sometimes. He just emailed me like an hour ago about a series that he's starting to do. So, but when we were operating like full force, it was, you'd pitch each of us. We had, I think, 8 or 11 writers when we were at our strongest. And you pitched, 5 sketches a week. And then, it's a regular writing thing. We'd have pitch meetings on Mondays.
And was it sort of whatever you were thinking about? Or was there like a mandate of like, try to have one topical thing, try to have one social media, phenomenon? Or
every now and then there would be something like we would want to do like a theme week or something like that. And then, we'd need at least a couple pitches around this theme. But most weeks, you could basically set those types of things for yourself. Like, I feel like doing a topical thing this week or something like that. It's that was helpful for me to set something like that for myself so that it's not just like literally anything. Mm-hmm. But basically, it was literally anything that you wanted to do.
Well, yeah, if it lives on the internet, it's just sort of like, this has to have some longevity.
Yeah.
That's what Key and Peele was like. You pitch a sketch in the morning, everybody gives you some ideas, you go write it, and it's crazy how after you do that for a number of years, like, I'm just a sketch writing machine.
Right.
I mean, I was just writing on this sketch comedy special, and it was just like, oh, you're done already? I'd be like, oh, yeah, I've done 5,000 of these.
Yeah.
Give me any idea, I'll be done in like 2 hours.
Yeah.
I wish I had that. I feel like I would be so precious. Like, because I only did it when I was in a sketch group, at UCB and stuff. And so we would be getting a show together. So it was always just like, oh my God, we have this perfect thing so we can try to get into Aspen when that was a thing and that was a lie to pursue.
Yeah.
Dumb.
Oh, Aspen, I do not miss it. I do not miss its existence.
Such a waste.
What a stressful thing.
Did HBO sponsor that? Were they like a big thing? Okay.
Yeah. I guess that's what Montreal is kind of.
Montreal is fun, though. I went to Montreal. It was a blast. But getting into Montreal didn't have the status gravitas that Aspen had, where it was like, oh, if you go to Aspen, you get a TV show.
Yeah.
That was the vibe. And so you were like desperate to get into Aspen. It was kind of like making the Saturday Night Live character DVD back in the day that you'd snail mail into SNL and be like, I hope somebody sees my stupid James Carville impression.
You had a James Carville?
Oh, it was horrible. But I just was like, you had to come up with, you had to do 5 impressions. So I'd just be like, I guess because I'm bald, I'll do like James Carville, that guy from...
oh, you should have done Dr. Evil. That would have been so perfect.
That would have been funny.
So perfect.
Brian, here's a stunning transition. And it's not even a transition anymore because we've gone off the topic. That's how bad this transition is going to be. Raph, you worked at College Humor.
Yeah.
Speaking of college, I heard you were raised very religiously and went to Bible college for a while.
Pretty good. That's pretty good.
Yeah. I was raised very religiously. And I was... This is maybe a little bit tangential, but I just finished reading Astrophysics for People in a Hurry, Neil deGrasse Tyson book, which is about cosmology and stuff like that. Because I was raised by creationists and educated by creationists up until I was like, I don't know, 10 or 11 or something like that. So I never learned there are a lot of things that I didn't learn.
Right, because they're not putting any science in the agenda.
Yeah, no, not so much. Not so heavy on that. But yeah, so those are things that I just had to be curious about and go look into as an adult. But yeah, I grew up pretty religious. My dad is a pastor now, part-time. And then he has a church. I'm originally from Chicago. They have a church in Tampa. My parents live in Tampa. And yeah, I went to Bible college for 2 years, which is basically, for people who don't know, it's, for all intents and purposes, it is seminary, but it's the undergrad version. So it's like pre-seminary. Seminary is technically, that term is only reserved for the graduate program. But it's the same, all the things that you learn in the subjects and concentrations in seminary or in Bible college. And I went there with a lot of, future missionaries and youth pastors. And I studied evangelism. I always wanted to do something in media.
You wanted to have your own mega church, maybe?
Yeah.
Is that what you're aspiring for?
Oh, interesting. Or maybe like one of the mega church TV shows you see on Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
You had a lot of money.
Well, that's, yeah. My dad is a pastor. My uncle has been a pastor his whole, my grandfather was a pastor, had his own church. So I had seen what that job was, and I can't think of a worse one.
Really? Why?
Well, because, you're supposed to be the conduit, like you're God's guy.
Right.
So that's the moral standard that you're being held to.
I would be fired immediately. I wouldn't make it a day.
Like any screw up, any mistake you make is going to be under a microscope and people are going to talk bad about you. And my family personally, I watched my uncle, he was also a chaplain in his town. So you're just on call 24/7.
What is being a chaplain exactly?
You show up to murders and stuff like that. Or when somebody's about to die, you say whatever the rites or whatever.
Oh, that's heavy. Okay, I remember the chaplain from when my dad died.
Or you hang out at the airport, right? That's another...
No, that's a captain. That's a captain, Ryan.
Yeah, no.
That's a pilot.
So this is something, Raph, this is something you and I have in common because my mom remarried, and she remarried a gentleman who used to be a pastor.
Okay.
He was a Baptist minister or preacher up in North Carolina.
Uh-huh.
And he, to your point, what you're talking about is as far as being the bastion of all things holy.
Right.
He had his first marriage fell apart. They had some problems. He kind of took a break, and when he came back to the church, he's like, you know what? I'm just glad that I have the church to welcome me back because I've gone through such a hard time. And they're like, actually, no, your wife was a whore, and you need to get out. And so he felt so betrayed. He just kind of gave it all up.
Yeah.
So, and I remember talking to him about that, about being very disillusioned with what they expected of him,
right,
and then what they were not willing to, it was all on him.
Yeah.
He could forgive everybody else, but he couldn't have any room for, to be a human.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that's really, and if your heart is really in it, I know, with some of those mega church pastors, it at least doesn't appear like they're in it for all the right reasons. But if you're really
what?
If you're there,
A weird perspective.
But if you're in it, if your heart is really in it, like that can be hard.
But later on, the reason I brought the airport thing is like later on he volunteered as a chaplain out at the airport, and so basically he just hung out like in the little prayer room, and if somebody was having a hard time or whatever, they missed their flight.
That's a thing?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
I had no idea.
I didn't know that was a thing neither. Wow, that's wild.
Yeah.
That makes sense though.
Yeah.
I want a chaplain at the airport every single fucking time. It's so horrible.
Yeah, exactly.
I know.
I fly Southwest, man. I'm going to Nashville and New Orleans. They should just have a chaplain at the Southwest terminal, just standing by your gate.
Just to talk about the terrible snacks that are available and stuff.
The weird line system. So did you leave Bible school or Bible college?
I did. I left after I was there for 2 years. And the one thing, I don't regret it, because the one thing about it is that it did give me what I feel like the purpose of school is supposed to do is for lack of a better word, a hunger or a thirst for like knowledge, to learn more. It gave me like a curiosity and like, I gotta figure out, and kind of like a little bit of an obsession maybe with like what is true, like what is actually, because when I went, like I said, I was raised by a creationist, and when I went to college was the first time that I had ever heard of the idea of what they call a theological evolutionist or evolutionary, where the idea that you can still be a Christian and not reject science and facts,
right?
That you can just fold this into your religion, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. So that was really freeing. And then that one thing, and then I forget what class it was, but just the thing of things aren't true because they're in the Bible. Things are in the Bible because they're true. And then I started to, think about that mantra of like, so there has to be a second source, or there should be a second source. Like, you don't just go based off of this one, if it's actually true.
So is that sort of like, you have a verse about like, and we saw this light, you might sort of say like, okay, this is probably based on, I don't know, like seeing the night sky in Alaska or whatever.
Right,
you know what I mean? Like
right.
The example being like what their vision was, or could be this, and so you kind of couch it, but it is still retelling a story or an experience someone had around their religion, right?
Yeah, and then if you're like me, you can learn too much, and then you kind of.
We didn't mean that much, Raph. Watch an episode of Nova. That's enough.
Yeah. Let me say this. I love learning, too, and I'd love to learn about these new products that are sponsoring our show.
Hey now.
Oh, stunning commercial transition, Brian. Absolutely stunning.
I get $10 more than you do for this episode. Throwing to a commercial.
Talking Bob, yeah.
This episode is brought to you by PayPal. Online. It's where PayPal was born. But it's not all dancing cats and double rainbows in cyberspace. I mean, one minute you're trying to outbid Soup Boy 99 on some antique spoons. Next thing, your bank account is nothing but tumbleweeds. But now, PayPal has ventured out into the real world with non-dancing cats and actual rainbows, ready to help you start taking payments in person. It's a safe and easy way to get paid. Just generate your unique QR code in the PayPal app for customers to scan and start accepting PayPal in person today. Learn more at paypal.com/US/getQRcode.
Support for this podcast comes from Invent Together. According to studies, less than 13% of all inventors who hold a U.S. patent are women. Black and Hispanic college graduates patent at half the rate of their white counterparts. But we can fix that by increasing participation in innovation and patenting by underrepresented groups. It would quadruple the number of American inventors and increase annual GDP by almost $1 trillion. Invent Together is a coalition of organizations, companies, universities, and concerned citizens committed to ensuring that everyone has the opportunity to invent and patent. Because the more diverse the American patent system gets, the stronger and more successful our nation will become. What can you do to help diverse inventors patent and unleash economic opportunity? Find out at inventtogether.org. Learn more and take action today.
Only on Bald Talk.
And we're back to Bald Talk. Wow, that product was fan-fucking-tastic. I endorse it wholeheartedly.
I'm going to get it myself.
Oh, please do.
I think that would be good for my baldness.
Yeah, everything it does.
So speaking of that, so I can only assume that when you went to Bible college and you started to realize, that your mind's being blown, that maybe you sort of had some gaps in your understanding what reality was.
Yeah.
That's what made your hair fall out, right? It was just that you had like a realization moment and it just went boing!
Every new fact, another hair.
Just went flying out like in a big exclamation point.
That's what it, yeah.
Right? That's the image I'd like to have.
That's exactly what it was. So if you go to Bible college...
you will go bald if you learn too much.
Yeah. You will go bald.
So you probably know the Bible pretty well then, right? If you went to
I did.
Who's your favorite biblical baldy?
Favorite biblical. Who was probably bald? Let's see. Who was probably bald?
Moses was bald, right?
Oh, Moses was bald?
Isn't he in the Charlton Heston Moses movie? Oh, no. He has like a shock of hair. Never mind.
Let's see. My favorite book was a book called Philemon, which is basically... It's an allegory. I just liked it because at the time I was really into allegories.
Right.
I can't think of, let's see, who's somebody that was probably bald? Maybe the Apostle Paul. Maybe Apostle Paul was probably bald.
Okay. And interestingly, Paul Scheer also bald.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All Pauls. Mm-hmm. Every single Paul.
Every Paul in the world.
Don't do that to your sons. Or do it. Yeah, I kind of feel like if there was a passage in the Bible, it would not be the most complimentary description. You know what I mean?
Right.
It would probably be like some smite the hairless Gollum.
Oh, Samson.
Oh, of course. That's the how did we overlook
he had
Samson?
Hair, he went bald, and then he was weak, and
he lost his power.
He lost all of his power.
Did he go? I want to know that about Samson. Did he go fully bald, or just like a ring in the back?
Shaved it.
He went Charlie Sanders style. It was all gone. Yeah,
love that. I mean, I would love it if he just had like kind of like a shitty hair.
Right.
Just like kind of like a hazy, kind of like still trying to be cool looking.
Yeah. Right, exactly. Dreads, but bald.
Yeah.
Like dreads, but yeah.
Yeah, my neighbor has that.
Or like there's too much sunlight behind him. You just see the kind of like haze of his former glory and stuff.
Oh, that's good. Raph, if you could have hair, any hair in the world, what kind of hair would you have?
If I could have hair, oh, damn.
I mean, it can be like candy hair. It can be like, like fingers all over your head.
Anything
you want.
Damn. I'm not even that greedy about it, and I'm a little bit realistic. So Doc Rivers is like the hair that I would have, which is barely any at all.
Okay, yeah, that's solid.
It's like a shadow of hair. It's basically a shadow on his head. But
that's an interesting choice. Yeah, I like his hair though.
Yeah,
he's got a solid line,
and it's always very clean and precise.
Yeah, it's very tight.
Well, that's your beard style. You have a very
that is the nicest thing anyone's ever said about me.
Oh, dude, I love your beard. It's so it's so perfect.
You got a Doc Rivers hair beard.
How do you feel? Are you cool with it? When did it happen? I know I was joking about when it, during college, but
so let's see.
Don't act like you don't remember the moment.
I mean, it was
you can't fool us.
I'm sure I was around 23. It started happening before I realized it. I still had an afro when this was happening. And I thought it was like, because I have like a tick. I forget what it's called. There's like a term for it where like I twist and pull out hair sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I used to do that when I had hair.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, I'll just stop doing that and then it'll be fine. No, sir. And
it's called, Olivia helped us out. It's called tricholiomania.
Yeah. That's it. That's what it is. Thanks, Olivia.
Thanks. She's putting up the pronunciation, but I like mine. Trichotillomania. Okay. Trichotillomania. That's another downside of having hair. Those weird manias.
Yeah,
you know.
That's right. So I'd rather not have it.
We're spared of trichotillomania.
It's a disgusting habit. Disgusting.
The only thing that like irritated me at first, stereotype is a strong word, but like the stereotype behind a shaved head and facial hair is supposed to equal like badass, you know?
Yeah.
That's supposed to make you look like strong and tough, because all of the pop culture characters that have that, like from Breaking Bad, Walter White, DMX.
Yeah.
I look like if DMX grew up in a house with both parents. That doesn't work for me at all. I'm not intimidating. I have not 1 ounce of intimidation in my body. So that part of it was irritating a little bit at first. And it actually, for me, what's a weird thing is that it was the first time where I've wished that I was darker complected, because I don't know, it's just cooler. There's a fashion designer, Oswald Boateng, he's a British fashion designer, and that guy is my, like, that would be the ideal.
That's your dream bald?
Yeah. For me, that's like, oh yeah, you should be bald. That's what you should do.
Yeah, this dude looks suave as hell.
Yeah. He's extremely cool.
No, you rock it great. I'm serious.
It's a solid beard.
It is a solid beard, and you have a great head shape.
Guys,
and
yeah, my head, that's part of the, if I go like this and I close my eyes, it looks like somebody put glasses on a Dove bar. That's part of the issue.
Well, I mean, my big moment of like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening was there was a, you know, when you're a child and you have the soft spot and the two plates, the plates of your head are coming together.
Yes.
Sometimes they don't nail it. And so I've got this ridge that kind of goes.
The ridge, baby, like a Klingon.
Yeah, I got the ridge. Like there's a period I was obsessively tracing it all the way, and I was like, oh my God, you can see it just looks like San Andreas Fault on my head. I'm disgusted. But it was to such a degree that I was like having to point it out to people and then like get a flashlight and like hold it at a certain angle. And it was like, yes, if you are in a field and there is a spotlight on your head from this angle, you can see it.
Oh, wow.
It's so weird to make people look at your ridge.
I know.
I think there's deeper issues at play here.
Completely.
See me?
Don't you see how gross I see myself? I was like, no, I will not join in on this. No.
Does your baldness factor into your comedy at all, Raph?
It hasn't so far. Yeah, no, I don't think so. Or maybe someone else. I mean, you know,
has anybody scripted you?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to think about, because we've done so many sketches and I don't remember most of them, but it probably did come up at some point, and I think it came up in No Laugh Newsroom at some point.
Right.
Brian called you a baldy when he was screaming at you.
Yeah, the whole conceit of that thing was this weird family tree that we had, where I was your father and
that I was your idiot son. Yeah, you were my dad and I was your idiot son.
And I was like, yeah, it's good casting. You get my hairline. That's cool.
I'm going to bring it back to religion really quick, because I have a chaplain story I wanted to briefly tell, but
please
I ended up not telling it. All right, so my dad was Christian.
Yeah.
Then he became like a severe alcoholic and quit Christianity. And then he quit alcoholism. He quit drinking and became Muslim. So he was Muslim my whole life.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But then briefly before he died, he started drinking again. He had heart problems. Ends up in the hospital. I'm like staying in this hotel by his hospital and going and visiting him every day. And I go visit him, and the Muslim chaplain's in there. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess he's going back to Islam again, because he had like quit it right before he got sick. And chatting with him, very nice, all that stuff. The next day I go to visit him, and the Christian chaplain's there. And I'm like, oh, he's covering his bases. I'm a little visit from both.
That's funny.
Maybe there'll be a rabbi tomorrow.
Ooh, I hope a Satanist come by just in case he goes there.
Oh, he definitely went to hell. But yeah, that would have been the best move. Should have had a Satanist.
That's funny.
Oh, man.
Wait, Charlie, have I ever asked you, was your dad bald? Charlie, I think you probably brought those.
No, he wasn't.
No, but your uncles were, right?
My grandpa and all my uncles
Right.
were.
Okay.
But for some reason, my dad escaped it.
Yeah, I'm wondering, I've heard that you get it from your mom's side, but on my mom's side, there is zero baldness at all.
Yeah, same here.
But how far back have you gone? Right?
Oh, Yeah,
Like, I don't know.
yes.
I mean,
Well, great-grandfather.
Yeah.
Back to the great-grandfather
same.
and that, like, he kept his hair the whole time.
again, it was Bible college. I mean, it's just, you're still stressed out about it, the life choices you made. Until you get over it, your hair's not going to come back.
But my dad, he started losing his hair, when I was little, and I remember making fun of him, which is so stupid because it's like I remember teasing him about it mercilessly, and then not doing anything because you can get like alopecia. When I was like in my 20s, my barber had mentioned, and he was bald, and he was like, maybe alopecia, you look into that. And I'm still roasting my dad, meanwhile not knowing that the tsunami is coming.
Well, was it a like front to back recede, or sort of like a
It's like a widow's peak, and then basically LeBron. like widow's peak, but then like all this is thinned out to the point where it's like if a tsunami is attacking a peninsula. If I grew it out.
Yeah.
You've got a game of Risk going on in your head.
So did you still have the afro with the widow's peaks?
It was starting on one side, like it went unevenly. So on one side, it was starting, and I could just maneuver it like, oh my God, I hate to even bring up the guy who was in the White House. I could maneuver it kind of like that to where it looked normal. But yeah, I had the afro for a while, and then it got to the place where you couldn't ignore it. So yeah, I just started getting shorter and shorter haircuts.
Yeah.
And then I was like, I can't just let this. I got to take it back.
Yeah.
Take back control.
Yeah, I know. Did you move straight to LA from Chicago?
So I'm originally from Chicago. We moved to Tampa when I was 15.
Oh, okay.
And then when I was 17, I went.
That's a bummer move.
Yeah. The only good thing about the Tampa St. Pete area that I've really appreciated during these wild times is that they have the Poynter Institute, which is an excellent journalism school.
Oh, that's interesting.
Which is also behind the website PolitiFact, which is also a Pulitzer Prize winning website that does, fact checking and Pulitzer Prize winning journalism.
So I love the idea of all these journalists stuck down in Florida, and like anytime they go to a bar, there's like,
That's it. Let's make that TV show.
Because nobody's reading it in their vicinity.
Just the arguments and culture clash. Every interaction they have. Like, no.
Yeah, but they're doing great work for preserving the democracy that we've had, or at least thought we had.
And only hanging out with each other. Let's do it.
I think this is what that provision in our contracts was about, Brian. Now, I think Will gets to produce that show now.
Yeah. Oh, man. Well, he'll do a good job. We
get a piece of it.
Yeah, no.
We get to play bald journalist.
Oh, he would be fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, he'd be
As
so
anyone
good.
from Florida, he's fantastic. So, yeah, we were there when I was in high school. When I was 17, I just started Bible college. I don't want to make it seem like I was a boy genius or something. It's just my birthday was at the cutoff. And then I went back to Chicago. And then I went back to Tampa for almost a year to work at my church to save up enough money to come out here. And that was 2007 I moved out here.
Were you doing comedy back then?
No.
Oh.
I didn't start doing comedy until 2012. And that's when I enrolled in Second City, Hollywood. I had never even set foot at Second City, Chicago, ever. And the Bible school that I went to was Moody Bible Institute, which is right down the street from, walking distance from Second City. And I just never went there. But I went to Second City, Hollywood, which is where Bill Hader went. He's like I think he's the most famous former student of that branch of Second City. And then, I got an internship there. And
but you had no interest. I mean, what was the kind of a genesis?
I had interest, but I mean, I correctly presumed that it was extremely difficult, like a very hard thing to get laughs on command, to be funny on command is it's gonna be difficult. So my first ambition performing wise was just straight drama. In Chicago they have a theater called the Goodman Theater, which in Chicago it's a big deal. It's bigger than Steppenwolf. And I did a couple plays there. I did one original play, which was called Seeking the Genesis, where I played a little boy who was on Ritalin. That's how long ago that was. Like, Ritalin was the new, like, that was topical.
Right.
And then I did A Raisin in the Sun. I played the little boy Travis in a production of A Raisin in the Sun in Chicago, which I was told was the first time. That play is set on the south side of Chicago, and I was told that that was the first professional production of that play on the south side of Chicago.
Really?
That's what I remember being told when I was, 10 or however old I was when I was in that.
Have you ever, I mean, you know, you lost all your hair because you went to Bible college. That's been established.
That's canon.
That's canon. That's part of your Wikipedia page now. But have you, I always find, like, in comedy, when you find out someone has a religious past or, you know, deeply religious beliefs and stuff, it's always like, oh,
yes.
Whoa. You know, it's like finding out someone is staunchly conservative or something.
Yeah.
Has that ever been either sort of like pit against you or sort of like, well, maybe you could? I mean, it can also be an asset as far as, like, I mean, more and more people are realizing, like, hey, on shows or staff writing, we need perspectives, you know?
Yeah. Diversity of, perspectives.
Yeah. We can't just speculate on what, you know, the other is like or whatever.
Right. So far, it's really only been good, but I didn't realize that was interesting. I remember the first time that happened was when I was auditioning for a conservatory at Second City Hollywood, and they asked us, you know, tell us one thing about yourself, and I'm like, there's nothing about me, but I don't know what even made me say. I think it was because everybody else, this was something about me that at least everybody else didn't say anything close to that. So I was like, oh, I went to seminary just because it was technically Bible college, but seminary, people don't have a question. Everybody knows what seminary is.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Silence.
One of the ladies was like, really? And not like in a bad way, but just like in a, well, that could go either way kind of way.
Right.
And yeah, since then, that's been something that I've brought up in terms of, just knowing that some people find that interesting, that I would end up taking this route. But yeah, and then I remember having an interview, I'm not even sure I should say the name, but an entertainment news program. I worked for
Entertainment Tonight?
Yeah, for 9 years I was there. Yeah. I was there for 9 years, and I the first 2 years I was a production assistant. I was just trying to get any other job, so I was interviewing to be a assistant for one of the VPs of casting at CBS. I remember bringing it up in that interview, and she was like, well, do you have a problem with me?
With sin?
Yeah. That's the only time where anybody even, like, really looked at me sideways about it. But again, it wasn't like, she wasn't like against me or whatever. She just wanted to make sure that I was cool.
Yeah.
And you never know, like, that's going to be cut with, you know, whatever your life experience is. So you don't know who she's bumped up against, like your stepdad in the Baptist church. Like, so yeah, I just trying to make sure that
just trying to make sure that our sponsors get a moment to speak up and share something that they have.
All Ball Talk.
This episode is brought to you by Simply by Frito-Lay. You have enough on your plate, but now there's one less thing to overthink with Simply by Frito-Lay. It's your favorite Frito-Lay snacks with ingredients to feel good about, like Simply Blue Corn Tostitos, Sea Salted Ruffles, and White Cheddar Cheetos Puffs. All made with no artificial flavors or colors. So enjoy what you love and look for Simply brand snacks online or at a store near you. This episode is brought to you by Wine.com. The days of standing in the wine aisle, staring aimlessly at a wall of wine without a clue, are over. Go to Wine.com and pick the perfect bottle with confidence every time. Filter your search by price and professional ratings, read reviews, and even chat with real wine experts for recommendations. It's the world's largest wine store delivered to your door. And if you sign up for a stewardship membership, you'll get free shipping year-round on every order. Get $50 off your first order by going to wine.com/Spotify. Terms apply.
Talking Bald, yeah.
Well, that was a great product.
Yeah. It's funny going back to the, religious beliefs and stuff. I wrote a movie with an actor, and at one point he was like, "Hey, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I'm devoutly Christian. It is the core of my belief." I was like, "Oh, well, that's cool." He's like, "So I'm not comfortable if our character says, God damn it, or hell." And I was like, "Well, at this point, our character has been established as a piece of garbage." And he said, everything else under the sun, I will write those words if you're okay, but I really think it's going to be kind of a glaring omission for him to just like tap dance around certain, And it was a good conversation. He was just like, I guess, it's like I have to take myself out of who I am and what my belief system is, and then think in terms of like what the
character.
Yeah, the character, the world you're building and stuff.
You mean acting?
Acting, yeah.
I mean, isn't that what it is?
And I'd asked him, I was like,
you know what I have to do? I'm going to pretend I'm a different person than myself. I'm going to pretend I'm the guy written into the script.
The movie's called God Hater, okay? And you are the lead. So
how did he get this part?
But yeah, and I think that came up. I was like, what are you going to do if you get this kind of part? He's like, I don't know if I would go out for that kind of part. And I was like, oh.
Right.
Oh. Which is the same as passing on a commercial that you're like, no, I don't really want to support, whatever company because I don't believe their stuff.
Yeah, convictions, whatever your convictions are. Yeah, oh man, I don't know if I should go down this road.
Yeah, that means we should.
You just pointed out the road. Come on.
So my parents voted for Trump.
Right.
I think it's because they have very strong convictions about, they're very staunch pro-lifers, which is just like as a man, like I have the easy